You might think you know your cat better than anyone else. The way it curls up beside you, follows you quietly from room to room, or suddenly bursts into energy at the strangest hours. But what happens when that familiar rhythm changes in a way that feels almost invisible at first, yet deeply unsettling once you notice it? Cats are known for sleeping a lot, sometimes up to 16 hours a day, and because of that, it is easy to dismiss extra sleep as normal behavior, just another lazy afternoon stretching into evening. But there are moments when that extra sleep is not just rest, it is a signal, a quiet shift that your cat cannot explain in words, yet desperately needs you to understand. Imagine walking into the room and seeing your cat still in the same spot hours later, barely moving, barely reacting, and you tell yourself it is nothing, that cats are just like that, but something feels different, something you cannot quite ignore, and that feeling is often where the truth begins. A sudden increase in sleep is not always harmless, and while it might seem subtle, it can be one of the earliest signs that something deeper is happening beneath the surface, something that could be physical, emotional, or even environmental. Cats are incredibly good at hiding discomfort. It is part of their nature, a survival instinct that keeps them appearing strong even when they are not, and because of this, changes in behavior, especially sleep patterns, become one of the few clues they leave behind. When a cat starts sleeping more than usual, it might be dealing with pain, illness, stress, or even changes in its surroundings that are affecting its sense of safety and comfort. The challenge is that these changes rarely happen all at once. They creep in slowly, almost unnoticeably, making it easy for owners to overlook them until the pattern becomes too obvious to ignore. And by that time, the situation might already be more serious than it first appeared. This is why paying attention to small details matters so much. The slight delay in response, the lack of interest in play, the way your cat chooses to stay hidden instead of seeking attention, all of these can combine with increased sleep to form a bigger picture. It is not about panic, it is about awareness, about understanding that even something as simple as sleeping more can carry meaning. The key is to notice when normal turns into unusual, when routine turns into withdrawal, and when rest turns into something that feels more like silence than comfort. At first, the change may feel small, almost unimportant, like your cat choosing a different corner of the house or skipping a play session it usually enjoys. But over time those small differences begin to stack together in a way that tells a much larger story, one that is easy to miss if you are not paying close attention. Increased sleep can be tied to a wide range of underlying causes, and that is what makes it so important to understand the context around it rather than viewing it as a single isolated behavior. Sometimes it can be linked to physical health issues such as infections, digestive problems, or chronic conditions that slowly drain your cat's energy without obvious external signs, leaving sleep as the only visible change. Other times, it may be connected to emotional stress, something as simple as a new environment, a change in routine, or even the presence of a new pet or person in the home, which can quietly disrupt your cat's sense of security and lead it to withdraw more often into sleep as a form of escape. There are also situations where aging plays a role, as older cats naturally become less active and may sleep more, but even then, a sudden increase should never be ignored because it could signal that something beyond normal aging is happening. The challenge lies in distinguishing what is normal for your specific cat versus what is not, because every cat has its own personality, its own habits, and its own baseline for rest and activity. This is why observation becomes your most powerful tool, noticing not just how long your cat sleeps, but how it behaves when it is awake, whether it eats with the same appetite, responds to sounds and movement, or shows interest in the things it once loved. When sleep begins to replace engagement, when curiosity fades into stillness, that is often when concern should start to grow. It is also important to recognize that cats rarely show clear signs of discomfort until the issue has progressed, which means that what appears to be simple laziness could actually be your cat's way of coping with something it cannot express. The longer these signs go unnoticed, the greater the risk that a treatable problem becomes something more serious, making early awareness not just helpful, but essential. By paying attention to patterns, by trusting your instincts when something feels off, you give yourself the chance to act before the situation worsens, before that quiet increase in sleep turns into a louder problem that is much harder to ignore. There comes a moment when observation must turn into action, when that lingering feeling that something is not quite right becomes too strong to ignore, and this is where your role becomes more important than ever, because your cat depends entirely on you to notice what it cannot say. If your cat has started sleeping more than usual and the change feels sudden or unusual, the first step is not to panic but to take a closer look at the full picture, to gently observe its daily routine, its eating habits, its movement, and even the small details like grooming and responsiveness, because these clues often reveal more than sleep alone ever could. A healthy cat, even one that sleeps a lot, will still show moments of alertness, curiosity, and engagement, but when those moments begin to fade or disappear completely, it is often a sign that something deeper is going on. In these situations, reaching out to a veterinarian is not an overreaction. It is a responsible and necessary step that can make all the difference, especially when early detection can prevent a minor issue from becoming a serious condition. It is always better to hear that everything is fine than to wait too long and discover that something could have been treated much earlier. At the same time, creating a safe and comfortable environment at home can also help your cat feel more secure, reducing stress and encouraging more natural behavior, whether that means maintaining a consistent routine, providing quiet resting areas, or simply spending a little extra time nearby to offer reassurance without forcing interaction. Cats are sensitive creatures, and even small changes in their environment or routine can have a big impact on how they feel, so being mindful of these factors can support their overall well-being. Remember that you are not just watching your cat, you are learning its language, understanding its patterns, and responding to the signals it gives you in the only way it can. Increased sleep is not always a sign of danger, but it is always a message, and the difference lies in how you choose to respond to it. By staying aware, by trusting your instincts, and by taking timely action when something feels off, you give your cat the best chance to stay healthy, safe, and comfortable. Because sometimes, the quietest changes carry the loudest meanings, and noticing them in time can be the difference between a simple checkup and a much more serious situation. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.